Hi, welcome to this tutorial on how to use gated reverb on your tracks using only one plugin, our latest release, VAST, Impulse Engine. The gated reverb technique is an iconic audio effect popularized in the 80s by Peter Gabriel's song Intruder, whereby an unnaturally large reverb was applied to an audio source while controlling the decay time with a gate effect. This resulted in a larger-than-life sound that has become a hallmark of pop music, enduring through various musical eras. Naturally, the technology back then was very different from what we're used to today, so the use of the noise gate was absolutely crucial in controlling the length of the reverb tails. Whereas today we can achieve similar results by going about it in a few different ways that we will explore in this video. So let's have a look. To create the traditional gated snare sound, we're going to load VAST as an insert on a snare track. You can easily do this in an aux track if you want to have a bit more control over the sound. The first thing we want to do is dial in a really large reverb, like Big Hole, as our impulse response. And then set up our gate module to artificially control the decay of the reverb by setting the release time in combination with the ratio knob to craft the right decay to the sound. It's crucial that we set the detector source to dry signal, since we want to trigger the gate with the initial snare drum transient rather than having it react to the dynamics of the reverb which we're trying to control. Once we have the gates set up, we can fine-tune the convolution module until we get a sound that we like, making sure that the mix knob is set to 100% wet, since the dry signal balance will be set by the mix module in the signal chain. The pitch setting will give us a variation on the timbre of the reverb, while tweaking the width knobs will help create the right stereo image. Next, we're going to want to squash that reverb with a compressor to pack as much energy into it as possible and make it sound dense and rich, and then carve out some of the unwanted frequencies with the EQ module. As you can see, it's quite handy to have all of these different modules to really shape up the sound of your reverb. Having the mix knob in the signal chain allows you to really sculpt the wet signal and then bring the unaffected dry back into the mix. And once you're happy with the sound and blend, we can head over to the output module to finish dialing in the sound of the track by adding a little bit of ambience and some output saturation or clipping for a little bit of extra harmonic content. Another advantage of VAST when creating your gated reverbs is its ability to tempo sync your reverb processes. This way, instead of using a gate to shape the decay of the reverb, we can simply measure it in beats by trimming the IR to the desired length. Make sure the tempo sync feature is enabled on your convolution module and use the markers in the waveform to determine the exact length of your reverb tail. Additionally, we can fine-tune the fade-in and fade-out knobs to craft the perfect dynamics to the reverb tail. There is another use for a noise gate when applying big reverbs to a source, and it involves swapping the order of the noise gate and the convolution to only affect the loud sounds with reverb while leaving the softer signals unaffected. This technique was notoriously featured on David Bowie's vocals on Heroes, where a noise gate was set on a pair of microphones that were positioned farther away in the room where he was singing, to only capture the room's reflections for the louder parts of the track. One could argue with today's technology, it might be easier to just record the pair of microphones and then edit them in the DAW. Nonetheless, this technique can be really cool when applied to expressive performances or when playing live into it, creating a very unique texture. For this particular technique, you want to set your gate at the start of the signal chain and set the threshold so that the gate only allows the louder parts of the signal to come through. We can solo the gate module at any time to hear just the effect of the noise gate on our signal chain. After we've dialed in the threshold, we can set the convolution flavor to our liking, again making sure that the mix is at 100% wet so that we can then mix the overall effect with the dry signal using the mix module. So there you have it. Using a noise gate in combination with reverb can yield lots of interesting results, and Vast lets you explore these in a single plugin without having to do any additional routing in your DAW. Let us know in the comments if you used gated reverbs in your productions, and if you'd like to share any cool tips that you may have discovered. See you soon!